All right, Nate, make sure you bring your reading glasses for this one. We're checking out The Revenant Prince. This week we're checking out The Revenant Prince from Indonesian Nomina Games. This is kind of this Zelda-like RPG style game. What did you think jumping into this one, Nate?
Well, buddy, kind of like you said in the intro, you gotta get prepared to read a lot. There are no voiceovers in this game, and the way the game kind of flows is that there's really massive segments of dialogue, where it'll be one character talking and 1 to 2 lines at a time, and then maybe it'll pan over to the next character. And also it has this kind of mix with an anime style while presenting it, which I thought was pretty cool. But nonetheless, dude, sometimes it just stretched out a little too long.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. That's why I definitely brought the intro in like that, because I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of reading I had to do in this game. But at the same time, I kind of understand why there is so much reading, because we have a pretty thick storyline here. We're following Troy throughout this entire kind of adventure, and there's a lot of like really interesting characters in this game. We have humans, we've got animals, we've got monsters and creatures, and like you can interact with all these characters, and it's like it's a lot of fun and it's really interesting, but there's a lot of information to take in here. Like the story itself is very involved, and then the game asks you to do a lot of talking. You go around and talk to basically everybody you run into, you talk to, and everybody's got something to say, and it just feels like you're just walking and talking, and there isn't nearly enough action, at least for some of the games that I'm used to. So I'm going to try to reel it back here, because I think overall we do have a really good game here. It's just there are some hang-ups, and I have a hard time getting past some of the issues I had when I was playing this game.
Kind of like I mentioned earlier, dude, it's the flow of the game. At the very beginning, they really dive into the story, and there's just so much dialogue and no real battle. Like, you do this kind of tutorial like battle, but this is all within the first hour of the game. You maybe do one tutorial style battle. So that's honestly my biggest knock on the game, is just the flow. But moving forward, the combat I thought was pretty cool. It's unique. It's this sort of real-time Final Fantasy style, like Final Fantasy VII, that kind of I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah,
it's unique. I haven't
unique.
Actually seen anything like it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely a very unique kind of fighting style. It's this turn-based, but not turn-based, real-time kind of action RPG style battle, and basically where we have a menu to choose from. We have items, we have assists from teammates if we do happen to have a teammate following us around for that particular part of the story, which I thought was a kind of a cool little addition. But again, we have the Q, W, and E buttons that are kind of our attack buttons depending on what weapons we have, and it's kind of like a light attack, heavy attack, and so there's some cool aspects there. And the fact that you can carry multiple weapons and switch between your weapons mid-battle, I thought was really cool. This is the addicting part of the game for me. I think as I went on, the more battles I got into, I started to really feel it. You know what I mean? Like, you get the feel for this kind of unique battle style. And the thing I did like is that early in the game, they do kind of during the tutorial, they do a quick description of how to make it kind of easier for you as you're traveling around the environment, because you will just run into enemies that kind of just appear, by the way, which is, it's pretty seamless. Like, you're not going into a huge menu. You press E, down or up on the arrow keys, enter, and you're done. It was, I think it's a really simple thing to implement into a game like this, but it does change the experience quite a bit.
So talking about the story, man, that's again where this game really excels in my opinion, because they did something really unique here. Although you do have to explore everything, because there is not a lot of direction in this game, which is kind of one of the weaker points, I guess, in my opinion. But I guess that's kind of the style that they're going for, is that you do need to talk to mostly everyone and, explore all the areas and obtain items. So what did you think of the story, though?
Well, again, like you said, it is a bit of a unique story. We start off in kind of a very interesting environment at the beginning of the game, kind of the beginning of Troy's story. And we kind of wake up and we're greeted by a couple characters that we kind of stick with early on in the game here. And it's just, he's so confused. He's basically trying to figure out what's going on with him, why he is where he is. And all throughout this entire time, there's kind of these dialogue boxes that keep popping up that aren't necessarily ones that you're talking to, but they seem to be talking to you. So it's very confusing about what's going on. And as you kind of get through the first couple hours of the game, it actually starts to get even weirder, but at the same time a little more intriguing, because there's a lot of questions to be answered. And as Troy's story goes on, he starts to kind of meet these different characters in these different, I'm going to say, worlds. I don't want to give away too much because, like I said, it's almost hard to explain, but at the same time, it's so unique the way they kind of tell this story, because you start to see it from a couple different kind of angles. You did kind of touch on it. It is confusing, and that might be what could turn people away. But if you can get hooked into this story, and because they give you the option to skip through the dialogue, and let me tell you, you do get the urge to do it every once in a while. But what I found is if you do skip through too much, you're gonna actually miss some pretty pertinent information, and you'll end up wandering aimlessly because you won't know where to go, because there isn't a main story quest objective that just pops up every time you're done one part. You kind of have to discover the next kind of area or the next spot you need to be in, or meet someone somewhere. And so if you're not necessarily keeping up with the dialogue, you may find yourself getting lost in this one. All right, Nate, our time with the Revenant Prince is coming to an end. It was definitely a unique experience. If you had to throw a score at this game, what are you going to give it?
Well, man, it was a little bit tough for me at first, but now that I've really dove into this game, I really like the dark side of this story. I thought the gameplay and the battling was pretty unique and a fun twist, so I'm gonna have to give this a 6.5. There was a little bit of dialogue kind of issues where the flow of the game was a little, not the way I think it should have gone. But anyways, all in all, 6.5 for me, man.
You know what? I'm right there with you, because I just had a tough time engaging in this story early on. It took 3-4 hours of play before it really started to hook me, before I got into a bunch of battles. But you know what, overall the art style is definitely what helped keep me into this one. I definitely liked it. The audio take was actually pretty good overall, nothing outstanding, but it definitely was up to par for this style of game. So I'm right there with you with a 6.5.
Nice.
With lots of dialogue in this one, it can be tough early on to kind of get past that hump. But if you can, there's lots of really awesome, unique features this game will reward you with.